on TV3 last night. You have 30 seconds now.
Thank you very much, Healy-Rae, and I will keep to a time frame. Ministers, I want to bring to your attention today, as you are aware, your government made a decision to increase the VAT on the hospitality sector. You said at the time that you would review this, that you would work with and engage with the organisations representing all aspects of our tourism sector. I'm asking you now, in light of statistics and the realisation on the ground, what this is actually happening, what the effect it is having, and what is happening on the ground, to engage with and look at this whole situation again and keep to the commitment and the promise that you gave.
Minister, 2 minutes.
Feedback to everybody on the basis of their recent performances now.
You know that now.
Thank you, Deputy. The second reduced 9% VAT rate was introduced on a temporary basis as part of the Jobs Initiative from July 2011 to December 2013 and was aimed at boosting tourism and the creation of additional jobs in the sector. The rate was designed to be temporary but was maintained in subsequent budgets. In 2016, the Programme for Partnership Government committed to maintaining the 9% VAT rate. I decided in Budget 2018 not to make any changes in the rate. However, I accepted that the rate must be subject to analysis. I therefore asked my department to undertake a comprehensive study of all aspects of the VAT rate ahead of Budget 2019. This was published by my department in July to help better inform my decision-making. The review found that tourism expenditure was more sensitive to income growth and the economic cycle than price changes. The economy is currently performing well, with high levels of employment and strong demand in the tourism sector. This positive economic outlook means that the income channel of demand is likely to ensure that economic activity within the sector remains strong. Furthermore, the Revenue Commissioner also published a report on the 9% VAT rate in June 2018, which analyses the output and employment impact of the 9% VAT rate using revenue data. The analysis found an estimated increase in employment on average of 1.8 employees for each firm benefiting from the reduced rate. However, beyond the short term, they were unable to distinguish the impact of the rate on employment from the impact of other factors in the economy. Given the impact of an increase in the VAT rate on the hospitality sector has only recently been reviewed, there doesn't seem to be currently a case for reviewing the impact of the increase again. But, Deputy, as is always the case, I'll continue to engage with any part of our economy and members of the Oireachtas on issues that they have a concern about.
Thank you very much, Minister.
Thank you very much, Healy-Rae. Okay, in response to that, I will tell you the experiences that people are having on the ground. As you know, I come from the county that is indeed probably the tourism capital of not Ireland but of the world. Killarney is the tourism capital not of Europe but of the world. So are places like Kenmare and Dingle and around the entire ring of Kerry. And all parts of Kerry are so involved in tourism, steeped in the history of tourism, steeped in the hospitality sector. But on their behalf, I'm highlighting to you today that there are actually businesses that are struggling. And even inside in a great town like Killarney, our figures are back. The businesses are back. The revenues are back. And remember, these are people, families, family-owned businesses throughout the entire ring of Kerry, whether it is from the Maharees down to Sneem or Castlecove or Waterville or Carrasaveen. These are struggling families who borrowed money, improved their businesses, and now they are saying that this is having a detrimental effect on them, and they're asking you to keep your commitment and look at it again.
I suppose you have a capital tourism capital you'd like to promote as well.
I fear singling out one particular part of the country. I'll have to name them all, but just 3 points in response to what the Deputy said there. The first one is that if you look at the central statistic figures that were recently published on overseas visitors to our country, in the first quarter of this year, Deputy, they increased by 6%. So we have more tourists coming to our country than we did a year ago in the first 12 weeks of this year. The second point, Deputy, is that it is entirely possible, and I accept the huge work and effort that goes into running and delivering our tourism businesses across the length and breadth of our country. But we have companies now that are now evaluating their performances, big and small, against a level of performance a year ago that was at an all-time high. And if we are in a situation where, if there is a decline in business performance against a base that was at an all-time high, and therefore you expect, or the expectation is created, that we have to change tax measures in response to that, we'll end up with tax policies that contribute to our economy overheating. If that happens again, the people who will pay the price for that are the businesses that you are referring to. If I look at the performance to date of the VAT rate, just to end with a final figure, at the end of May, that was now €392 million ahead of where it was a year ago, which shows that consumption is being maintained as against the fact that the rate has also gone up.
And you will have a final man. Final man for you, Deputy Healy-Rae.
And finally, my argument against what you've just said is very factual and very soundly based. You were saying that you reduced the VAT rate, well, previous ministers reduced the VAT rate as a temporary measure to help the struggling sector at that time. You then, when you increased it, what I'm saying is, rather than saying, well, that's a permanent increase and that we did that and we're not going to revisit it again, I'm holding you to account. I'm holding you to this House to keep with what you said. Remember, when we gave 74 days, and I was there every day with you, formulating the programme for government, one of the commitments that we had at that time was to the tourism sector. Your then party leader was deeply and sincerely committed to the tourism sector. I am asking you, your Taoiseach and your colleagues in government to keep the commitment to the tourism sector and help people in County Kerry and throughout the rest of the country by at least acknowledging here today that you will keep this under scrutiny and that you are not saying no to reviewing it again and reducing it again like you did in the past.
Final comment, Minister.
Thank you. Look, I acknowledge the fact that you were in the room for 74 days, but you ultimately also decided not to join. So you put a lot of it's one thing acknowledging how much time you spent in the room, but Deputy, you decided not to join. And I'm not sure what I said that has brought the Deputy to his feet, given that I'm just pointing to a fact. You decided not to join. And Deputy, just to respond back to the question that you have put to me,
you're wasting up time.
And you're going to give you a chance to withdraw and none through allegation. Withdraw it or else you will withdraw.
Resume your seat, then.
I give you an opportunity to
Minister.
withdraw. But you cannot tell a lie on the record of the Dáil. I will not allow you to tell a lie about me on the record of the Dáil. How dare you?
Sit down, Deputy.
How dare you?
Sit down, Deputy. Address the chair.
I'm sorry, but the Minister will withdraw the lie that he has stated.
You're taking up time. Minister, continue.
Deputy, it's not your role to decide what rules I obey to or not obey to. It's the role of the Cathaoirleach. You don't set the rules in this House. They're laid down in the standing orders, overseen by the occupant of that chair. What I simply did, given that you're somebody that a moment ago praised the fact that we should stand by the facts, is outline two facts. You participated in the government negotiations. You're not a member of the government. Before I go on to further address the issue that you made there in relation to VAT, let me put a point to you. I understand you're a successful business person. You understand the demands of running the balance sheet of a company. If you run a promotion, if that promotion is very, very successful and you sell more of that good at a lower promoted price than you thought you would, do you decide to keep that promotion on forever? That is a principle that every hotel operator, every B&B in the country understands, as I'm sure you do as a small business owner. That same insight applies to how we have to manage our national finances. It's the fact that that insight was not adhered to, that we ended up with a tax base that was too small to fund the needs of our state. Deputy McGrath, Deputy Doherty, other speakers earlier on were raising the issue of risks, like where we could be with corporation tax, like where we might be with Brexit.
Thank you.
We can't, on one hand, not recognise the risks, and on the other hand, not be willing to have the courage to do something about them.
Move on to question. Sorry, no, sorry. No, please, resume your seat. I am moving on. I will suspend the House, Deputy. No. Deputy, can I suggest... Well, in actual fact, you cannot accuse... Will you allow me to speak? Will you allow me to speak? Will you allow me to speak? I am the chair. No, resume your seat. Please, Deputy.
How can he tell
Deputy Healy-Rae, will you resume your seat, please?
Can anybody come into this house and tell a lie?
Please resume
He
your
said
seat.
something as if it was a fact and it
Deputy
wasn't.
Healy-Rae, I will have to suspend the House if you
I'm
don't...
very sorry to hear it, but
No, there's no point.
draw the line.
There's no point to sorry.
He said something as
Deputy, will you resume your seat, please? Will you resume your seat?
I'm very sorry,
Will you... No,
but will the minister withdraw the line?
no point saying sorry to
He
me.
cannot say something that's
Will you resume your seat? Can I just suggest
What
something?
he said was,
Can I just...
exactly what he said. He said that I choose not to participate in an administration and government. You cannot participate
Can I
in something
suggest
if
to you-
you're not asked.
Can I
Now, you
suggest-
can understand that, Minister. If you're not asked, 'tis like asking a girl out to dance. If she says no, you can't force her to go to a dance with you. I wasn't asked to the dance, so how can you come in here and state
You can
something
make
as if
your-
it's a fact
if you-
and think that you'll get away with it? That's not fair, it's
Deputy-
not honest,
Deputy-
it's not decent. So I'm
Deputy-
asking you as a minister in this government, you said something that is a lie, it's not true,
Don't-
and I'm not going to be...
Will you resume your seat, please, Deputy Healy-Rae?
Have an allegation
Okay,
about me
I will let
as
you
if
go
I
on
did
to-
something wrong, and opposite the people
Okay.
telling